Davies.
Rob? Brendan, good to see you.
You too.
Big discussion on our channel right now, and I think within football actually, about the idea of playing out from the back, which we've seen increasingly used, particularly with the top clubs in this country and abroad. Why is that? And do you think if a coach tries to play in a more direct way, they might be seen as a dinosaur in the current scheme of things?
Not really. No, I think it's basically what you see building out from the back as, whether you see it as an opportunity or whether you see it as a risk. It's nothing new. It's been worked that way for a long, long time. It just depends what you are as a coach. I think there'll be mistakes in it, and that's what you always have to take on board as a coach. But if you're happy to work that way, you know that from time to time there will be a mistake. However, there's a great opportunity in the game, and in particular in the modern game, where obviously if you build your game from deeper, teams have a longer area to have to press. Now they have to then decide, do they want to press that space or do they want to leave space in behind? So but I think what everyone looks at in terms of build-up play is that it's a risk, and they only ever see it as a short pass. But build-up play is about having options and then making the right decisions when you have the options. So sometimes it's into the first players, into the second player, or like we had here against Arsenal, we had an example of our build-up went into the space, and it allowed us to then create the goal, which that was build-up play, but it wasn't. It was a different way to build the game. So it just depends what you're happy to do. For some coaches, they'll get a bit nervy, or they're just not comfortable with it. But if you play direct, it's okay. It's just choice.
I guess I know you're a fan of it, and it's something you've been working on the players with. But it feels to me, because of Jamie Vardy and the other players you've got in this squad, you've got both options. Really, you've got some versatility there, haven't you?
Yeah, I've done it all my life. I've done it all my life as a young coach, working with teams to build a game, because I've seen it as an opportunity. And from time to time they'll make a mistake, but you give the confidence to the players to work that way. And then, like you say, it's having the various options, the ability to play short. You need players that are happy to receive the ball and the teams connect it. I think that's important. If you're building the game, everyone has to be in sync. And then thankfully for us, we've got pace that allows us to play out over the top of our press. So you need to have options. Building from behind isn't just purely a short pass.
Interesting stuff. Thank you, mate. Ben Chilwell wasn't training today. How is he?
Yeah, he's okay. Yeah, we just he had a little bit of a recovery this morning inside. He worked inside rather than being out, but he's fine.
Any other team news? Anybody else struggling for us?
No, we got players all fit and well.
What did you take from the Manchester United game?
I didn't think we deserved to lose the game. There wasn't much in the game. It wasn't a great game of football, but I think for us, I more see over the first 5 games of the season how we've started. We've shown a wonderful resilience at this stage of the season, which is very important for you going forward. We've been very strong in the second periods of games. Defensively, we haven't conceded many opportunities, and like I say, in spells we've shown a really good level. I think what's important for us to continue to work on is our performance. Forgetting about the winning aspect, we know we want to win, but for us it's about how we perform. And in the second half against Manchester United, we performed much better to the level. First half, not so good, but over the course of the season, we'll become better at that.
Speaking of Manchester United, there's some reports today with some quotes from you, but I think they might be from last week's press conference, so I'd like to clarify this with you if that's okay. These quotes seem to suggest that you wouldn't stand, or it'd be hard to stand in James Maddison's way if a big club like Manchester United or Liverpool came in for him. The quote says, let's be real, that as a package in a short career is maybe something that it is hard to turn down. I understand, I get it. So if somebody big came in for James Maddison, is that what you feel, or do you want to?
No, not necessarily. No, I think what I was saying was that in a player's career, there'll always be that temptation. But this is a club that doesn't want to sell its best players. But of course, if there's a valuation met, which meets what the club perceive the player to be worth, then of course there'll be a discussion. But it's not something that really we want to invite. James is very much, a talented player for us. He's still got lots of improvements to make as a young player, and he, along with a number of other young players, we want to keep here. But of course, I'm a realist as well, and I understand how the market works. But it's not something that we would be looking to entertain.
Thank you. Spurs let a two-goal lead slip against Olympiacos last night. That's the second time they've done that in 3 games after the North London derby as well. Do they have a problem there, do you think?
Listen, I would rather talk about the great job that Mauricio Pochettino has done. It's the first time I've come across him now for a few years, and he's a very talented coach, and I think he's done a brilliant job there. When I first, my Liverpool team played against his team early on in his reign at White Hart Lane, and so I got a good chance to see where he was at that early stage of his career at Tottenham. And when I look now at where he's at, where he's taken the club and what he's done in the period he's been there, it's been exceptional. So, yeah, listen, from time to time you're going to get like what happened last night. But this is a guy who's done a wonderful job, him and his staff there, what they've created. And like I say, a lot of the players, when I look back and think of the team that he had back then, and quite a number of the players that were there then are still there now, and the improvements he's made to them, the development he's given them, the status he's given the club. He's done an absolutely brilliant job, and I think that he will continue to do that, at a level. People look at and expect you to go away to Olympiacos and win. They're not easy games. Yep, you're 2-0 up. But listen, if you get a point away from home, if you can't win, then that's important for you in European football. And he'll be confident, him and his staff and players, that when they have their home games, they can get the job done, which is to qualify. There's always hysteria around it. Yep, they were 2-0 up. Young guy scores a very, very good first goal. Great speed and finishes it well in the second one. It's a penalty. So it can happen. But like I say, I repeat, he's done an amazing job there, and like I say, he's developed a lot of the players and given the club a great base to where they're at now.
I wonder whether maybe you think he didn't get the credit he deserves last season, because obviously Manchester City and Liverpool were extraordinary, but Spurs were their nearest rivals. They finished 3rd and they made a Champions League final. Is it going to be hard for them to match that, though, this season?
I just think that you just got to continue to look to improve, and like I say, everyone talks about the trophies and winning trophies. Not everyone can win a trophy, but I think if you look solely at the job he's done a remarkable job. And I think to have them sustaining that in these last few years, in Champions League football, he's done a fantastic job.
I look at Spurs and I wonder whether it's a blueprint almost that's similar to the one that Leicester are trying to achieve here, in terms of breaking into the top 6, the top 4 potentially. Big investment in infrastructure. They've done it on the stadium, you're doing it on the training ground, and an ambition to go forward and playing in the right way by bringing in the right people like yourself and Mauricio. Do you see that? Do you see similarities and maybe a path to follow?
Well, I think for us the ambition is important. I think everyone knows the recent history of the club, and for us there's real excitement going forward. We've got a talented group of young players that need educating and need developing, but they want to learn and they have that belief, and I think that's important. It's giving the players the belief and the confidence that you can achieve, and then over time you hopefully you can get there. But it's about performing, it's about having stability, it's about when you have difficult moments you stay together and gradually you look to get there. And I think the club here, like I say, we've got very talented young players with a great group of senior professionals that support that, and that constant hunger to improve. And if you mix all those together, then that ambition will hopefully allow you to progress.
Last one from me. You've got Jamie Vardy, they've got Harry Kane. They used to be England teammates, but actually they're very different sort of strikers, aren't they? How do you compare them? How do you rate them?
Well, very different. I think that, again, you go back, that game I was talking about, 4 or 5 years ago, Harry was on the bench then for Tottenham, and the strides that he's made over these last number of years has been brilliant. You know, his focus and the goals he scored, and he's become a real talisman for Tottenham and for his country. Jamie, I wouldn't swap, because he has so much to his game, that hunger, that appetite, the ability to score. I love the striker with that speed that can really stretch the game in behind. So different types, different qualities. But like I say, I've worked closely with Jamie now for a period of time, and there's not too many in world football you would swap him for. He's just got this incredible knack in terms of pressing the game, reading the game. He's tactically so good. And at this level, in the most competitive league in the world, he's up with the very elite strikers. So I'm very fortunate to have him here.
Hi, Brendan.
Hi.
Obviously, Spurs have been in Greece this week. You've had a clear week of training. Over the course of the season, can that make a difference for you and the team, in that, you know, some weeks, not all weeks, but you've got longer to prepare for the sides that are in the Europa League, Champions League?
Yeah, it can help. You have to make it happen. That's important. There's another way to look at it. The teams can be in rhythm through playing, but listen, hopefully it happens to us one day here, that we've got midweek games in Europe and then following Premier League games. So it's not easy, because, like you say, because of the game and the travel and everything else. But you have to maximise that. They will still bring a very, very top team here. The players that they have, they're robust. You know, they have a good squad of players where they can interchange and take players out and put players in. So for us, it's still going to be a very, very tough game. But for us, we've had a great week's training so far. We finish off our preparation tomorrow, and like I said, the players have shown a real appetite now, and we haven't lost so many games since we worked together. So it was nice for us to reflect after last weekend, and now we'll be ready for this weekend.
Have you spent much of this week not stewing, but kind of thinking about aspects of last weekend, in that it seemed like perhaps a decent opportunity to end the run at Old Trafford, and you had a very good early chance, but like you say, the first half didn't quite go your way, second half was better, but you know, you come away with a defeat.
Yeah, you'll always analyse. Like I said, I felt that we didn't deserve to lose the game, but we didn't certainly do enough to win it. But you'll always analyse whether you win a game 3-1 or you lose 1-0. So for us, there'll always be elements to take from the game. But where I'm fortunate is we've got a really strong culture here of learning and wanting to be better. And we'll never get too carried away when we win, and never too disappointed when we lose, because, you know, it's a long season, and you've got to get ready for your next day's training and your next game.
Spurs, of course, won brilliantly in Amsterdam to beat Ajax to get to the Champions League final. So obviously their away record in certain aspects is fantastic. But I think prior to January of last year, it was the best in European top 5 leagues. But then since then, in the Premier League, I think they're winless in 8. Can that be a psychological issue, or have they changed the way they play, or have teams changed the way they play against them at home, do you think?
Maybe a bit of everything. I think you just sometimes can go through a run without knowing it escalates, and when you look at the numbers, then it's surprising. But listen, they finished it in the top 4, and they got to the Champions League final, so they must be doing something right.
Hi, Brendan. How's facing Spurs? Were you giggling at already?
I thought we were going for a 4x100.
We can if you want. Listen, that can be. If you've been thinking a week about it, then we'll have it as a final question.
Okay then.
If you want to throw yourself in on the ankle leg over Vards as well, that's okay. How's preparing to face Tottenham at home different from preparing to face Manchester United this time last week?
No, listen, you're analysing the team, and you know they have their strengths, but of course the idea is always to look at the strengths of your own team and see if we can really impose our way. I think that was key message for us this week. You know, in the first half we waited a little bit in the game, and we're a team that's trying to create an identity, and for that it's to impose our way of working. And in a lot of the games since I've been here, we've been able to do that. Last weekend we didn't do that. Second half was much better, but we still need to be more dangerous. and that has to be right from the very first kickoff. So sometimes that happens when you get lots of young players and still evolving and developing, and they're going to a great arena. But eventually, over time, that will change.
Is it beneficial that so many of your players are young, because they're young and kind of sponges, as it were, that they'll take that in pretty quickly and understand that learning that, and I know it's easier said than done, but to impose themselves on their opponents rather than allow themselves to be dominated early in the game? Yeah.
Listen, especially away from home, and even at home at times, you're going to be under pressure. And I think it is one of the things that this team has shown me I've got great confidence in. I've got no doubt about them at all. The resilience that we've shown, even if you look at it this season, away at Sheffield United when we were sort of pegged back and we come back to win the game, away at Chelsea when it was tough for us, we stayed at it and should have won the game. And other periods here, even against Bournemouth in the first half, we haven't, not as well as what we can play, but then came out and produced a great second half. Our challenge is to, as the season goes, is to try and ensure our performance level is consistent for as long as we possibly can. And we believe when we can do that, then we can be a tough opponent.
You mentioned Spurs as strengths. What do you think their biggest strengths are as a team?
Well, over the last numbers of years, I think Mauricio's created a great spirit there. Clearly they have quality. Clearly they have players that have developed to a really good level and a consistent level. And they'll go into every game believing that they can win. So they've got some fantastic players. And like I say, with the right spirit, they're a top team. And listen, we mustn't forget, only a few months ago, they were Champions League finalists. So that's the level that they are at. So, but for us, it's a great opportunity to show our qualities against a really good team.
Well, they'll be the third top six side that you've played. You played a couple of top six sides already in Chelsea and Manchester United. How close to that top six level do you think you are on the evidence of the first two games and going into a third?
Well, we need to improve. I think that's clear. I think that, and it's not so much in our ability. It's just looking to ensure that we have this mentality that we can really go and compete over the course of a season. So I've got no doubt in the players' qualities. It's trying to ensure that we deal with the pressure of these games, and not when you're behind in games, but when it's 0-0 and from the kickoff. And that's something that comes with time and more work together. But the players have been absolutely brilliant since I've worked with them, and I think since they've started the season, we know we haven't fully got to our top level yet, but we're still in a really good position after 5 games, 3 in the cup, and showing lots of good qualities with a lot to improve on.
On a couple of your players individually, how impressed have you been with how Hamza Chowdhury's dealt with pressure situations, pressure games, Old Trafford last week, and when he's been asked to step up, the level of performances that he's given you so far? Yeah,
he's done very, very well. And I had a long chat with Hamza today, just in terms of his game and where I think he can improve. He's no doubt he's brilliant in pressing. He's fantastic in that. He's actually very clean with his technique. And for him, it's just over these next few years developing that personality to show that he can also control a game. Because that's the next level for him. He's got great physicality. He's a really humble boy, and sometimes it's hard for boys that are really humble and very down to earth to play with that arrogance that you want them to play with. That sometimes takes that little bit of time. Some players are naturally have that feeling, but for the likes of Hamza, he's a young player at 21 years of age. Got so much improvements to make, and I've been so pleased with him, and he's a very important member of our squad.
You'd rather it be that way round, though, wouldn't you? The talent and then the aptitude maybe come, rather than the aptitude without the talent. It seems he's got it the right way round.
Well, listen, that is the idea. You need to, whoever you need to have that humility, but be able to cross the line and have him play with personality, especially if you want to play in this league. So I've got no doubt he'll continue to flourish and become better.
A lot of talk on our airwaves over James Maddison's position, his best position, Brendan. People, when you had a shape change at Old Trafford, or certainly a personnel change when Harvey Barnes came on, and James seemed to be occupying a more central role, and a consensus is that he's more effective in a central role. I know that he's been played in a 3. What kind of balancing act is that for you with positionally that final third, and where James Maddison fits best into that?
Yeah, I think he's a player that he can play really well in a couple of positions. I think we've seen him in some games, in particular at home, where he's played in that central as an 8 and been very, very good. But then you've seen him away at Chelsea, where he was man of the match and playing slightly narrower but closer to Jamie, and also has put in a great performance. So I think in terms of the game last week, the game opened up a little bit, so it was the perfect moment to bring him in. I just think he's one of those players that will drift. If you look at Christian Eriksen that plays for Tottenham, he plays in a number of positions, centrally, wide, off a side, in behind. James is a very, very talented footballer, still with a lot to develop and a lot to learn, but he's got wonderful qualities that the team can benefit from, and it's just sometimes you're looking at where you can best maximise them in a game.
And finally, last week we talked about Wes Morgan's pace. Wes then almost broke a world record in a social media video that the club launched, which was very, very impressive with his 100-metre dash. Yeah. And I asked you last week, and I've given you a week to think about it, who'd be in your 4x100-metre team. And I wonder whether you've got any names.
Yeah, well, Wes Morgan first. Yeah, I throw this open to the staff as well when we spoke about it. And at the moment, we've come up with Jimmy Vardy will be in it, Ben Chilwell, Harvey Barnes over 100 metres, and Damari Gray, with a really strong backup squad in Wes and JJ and Ricardo. You know, so we've got good speed in our team.
Because you'll have players, I'd imagine, like quicker, like 0 to 20 yards, but after that, you know, it's that pace over the distance, as it were.
Yeah, and also you need the speed in the brain. I think that's important, and we've got one or two that are really, really quick in the mind. So, but we're a fast team. It's how we like to play, dynamic, and it was hard to get 4, but that would have been the 4.
I hope pace serves you well on Saturday. Good luck.
Let's hope so.
Thank you.
Okay, folks. Thank you.
Okay. Cheers. Thank you.